Hello, lads and lasses. This is Pastor Pete, the pipe smoking pastor again. This is the third in a series of three. And so if you haven't heard the first one, you need to go back to the first and the second one before you listen to this one, or else you're going to miss the point. But this third installment is on, can a Christian man or woman enjoy adult or alcoholic beverages? Let me introduce you to one of my friends. This is a Tinsky. This is a Tinsky, Mark Tinsky of American Pipe Corporation. One of his rusticated bents he made specifically for me. Beautiful pipe. And it's a big bowl, big old bent. Beautiful. Good smoker. Coral rustication. Good pipe. 2 hours. At least. Oh yeah. Huh? Makes me better looking? Or made me look intelligent. Have to be careful because during Christmas time, if I walk around with too much red on me and my red patch cap and smoke a pipe, people think I'm Santa Claus. Next year, I'm going to be so skinny they're not going to notice me anymore. On it. Me and Nick going to lose a whole bunch of weight next year. And you're not going to be able to recognize us. In any case, can a Christian man enjoy adult beverages? I'm going to use some terms that we've already talked about, so once again, I'm not going to explain them because I'm going to anticipate the fact that you're going to be already past 1 and 2 when we get to this one. The fundamentalists and holiness movements, often called perfectionism, or the perfectionists, and the legalists, began the first temperance campaigns and then the more extreme prohibition movements. Consequently, alcohol itself became an evil in the eyes of many, but not all, abstainers, and so had to be expunged from Christian practice, especially from the holy rite of the Lord's Supper. Catholics and Lutherans were two denominations largely unaffected in doctrine and practice by these fundamentalist movements, emphasizing rather virtuous living and being temperate or moderate in all things rather than prohibitionist. Speaking of Lutherans, the father of the Protestant movement and hero of the true faith, Martin Luther, preached against drunkenness, yet he himself was a drinker of beer. Martin Luther preached against drunkenness and aborted, he used the worst possible language in condemning the deepest depths of hell anyone who would be drunk. And yet, his wife was his favorite brewer, you can imagine, of both beer and wine. One of Luther's biographers noted, and I quote, "The German prophet became a patriarch, and the living room was dominated by his presence." Luther enjoyed his beer and had a great mug with 3 rings on it, one representing the 10 Commandments, the next the Apostles' Creed, and the third the Lord's Prayer. Luther boasted that he could fill the mug all the way to the 3rd ring and drink all 3 with ease. God bless him. Yet Luther hated and denounced drunkenness and being immoderate in drinking and spared no words when doing so. In a sermon on soberness and moderation against gluttony and drunkenness, Luther used 1 Peter 4:7 through 11 as his text as he preached, God does not forbid you to drink as do the Turks or the Mohammedans or Muslims. He permits you to drink wine and beer. He does not make it a law of it. But do not make a pig of yourself. Remain a human being. If you are a human being, then keep your human self-control. Even though we do not have a command of God, we should nevertheless be ashamed that we are thus spit upon by other peoples. If you want to be a Christian, do not argue in this way, saying, nobody reproaches me, therefore God does not reproach me. So it has been from the time of Noah, and so it is from the Sodomites who wanted to rape the angels. They were all so drunk they could not find the door. Sodom and Gomorrah perished because of a flood of drunkenness. This vice was punished. God does not tolerate such confusion and inordinate use of his creatures' food and drink. Luther was a champion for moderation, but allowed for elevation, which you would call buzz, elevation. He also called it exhilaration. Again, you might call it a beer buzz or whatever. But in a sermon he gave in 1539, he preached the following words. Listen very carefully. It is possible to tolerate a little elevation. When a man takes a drink or two, too much after working hard, and when he is feeling low. This must be called a frolic. But to sit day and night pouring it in and pouring it out is piggish. All food is a matter of freedom, even a modest drink for one's pleasure. If you do not wish to conduct yourself this way, if you're going to go beyond this and be a born pig and guzzle beer and wine, then if this cannot be stopped by the rulers, then you must know that you cannot be saved. For God, and continue to quote Luther, for God will not admit such piggish drinkers into the kingdom of heaven. Bam. Luther continues, if you are tired and downhearted, take a drink. But this does not mean being a pig and doing nothing but gorging and swilling. You should be moderate and sober. This means that we should not be drunken, though we may be exhilarated. Luther once remarked that in an emergency, if there's no water at hand, it doesn't matter whether water or beer is used. Other Luther quotes concerning beer. We old folks have to find our cushions and pillows in our tankards. Strong beer is the milk of the old. Luther said, I know the devil is active, but I also know God is sovereign, so I'll sit here and drink my beer. Goodbye. Goodbye. Luther also said this, whenever the devil harasses you, seek the company of men, or drink more, or joke and talk nonsense, or do some other merry thing. Sometimes we must drink more, sport more, or in some other way recreate ourselves, and even sin a little in spite of the bed, or to spite the devil, so that we may leave him no place for troubling our conscience with trifles. We are conquered if we try too conscientiously not to sin at all. So when the devil says to you, do not drink, answer him, I will drink and right freely just because you told me not to. Oh man, if you're a Pharisee or a fundamentalist right now, you're probably condemning me to the lowest depths of hell. But what Luther was getting at was that the message of Christianity is not a set of rules on how to appear holy. But Christianity is the message that a holy God has made sinful people holy.
Ooh, that's good.
Through the shed blood of Jesus Christ. Christianity is not about what one does or doesn't do. It's about what was done because I could not do what was asked of me. May I say that one more time? Because it's real important you get this. Christianity is not about what one does or doesn't do. It's about what was done because I could not do what was asked of me. So Jesus died for me in my place so that by his sacrifice I could be made holy. What Luther was getting at was this, that the message of Christianity is not a set of rules on how to appear holy. Christianity is the message that a holy God has made sinful people holy. Christianity is not about what one does or doesn't do. It's about what was done because we could not do what God required us to do. He employed the principle of reductio ad absurdum to counter the idea that abuse should be met with disuse. This is what he said. We must not reject or condemn anything because it is abused. Wine and women bring many a man to misery and make a fool out of them. So we would need to kill all women and pour out all wine. In dealing with drunkenness at the love feast in Corinthians, St. Paul does not require total abstinence from drink, but love for one another that would express itself in moderation and selfless behavior. However, Luther did approve of voluntary abstinence in several cases, such as for a person who finds it too difficult to drink in moderation, and for the benefit of the weaker brother who would err because of a strong Christian exercising his liberty to drink in his presence. Out of 5,200 Christians surveyed, 51% do not feel that drinking beer is wrong. In fact, many people in this group did not feel that drinking any alcohol was wrong. Drinking is not wrong, but drunkenness is, they said. They believe that everything, including alcohol, should be done in moderation. 38% of those surveyed did, in fact, feel that drinking beer was wrong. They felt that one beer almost always leads to more and then also to alcoholism, and felt that all alcohol consumption was wrong. But 11% stated that they were unsure about whether or not beer or anything in particular was wrong. A lot of people are undecided about this and confused about it. And a lot of that has happened because of the, quote, holiness movement, the prohibitionist movement, the fundamentalist movement. Did you know that the creator of Guinness beer, his name was Arthur Guinness, was saved under the preaching of John Wesley? And Wesley was preaching at the time at St. Patrick's Church, and Wesley challenged Arthur Guinness, earn all you can, save all you can, and give all you can. For your wealth is evidence of a calling from God, so use your abundance for the good of mankind. That's in the book God and Guinness. Get it if you haven't read it. But here's two illustrations I want to end with about hypocrisy. One concerning Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the other J. Vernon McGee. In both cases, the college that they were attending, which was Southern Baptist University, was forced to reconsider its position, at least for those known in the day to be great Christian statesmen and solid theologians and Bible teachers. First of all was Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Dietrich was summoned to the table at a banquet at Southwestern Christian Theological Seminary. It's a Baptist seminary, and it was against drinking in any case. They were called teetotalers. So Bonhoeffer comes to the table. He sits there, and he's the guest speaker that night, of course, and he asks them, what, no beer? whereupon he's told that the college did not believe in drinking beer and that Christians could not drink beer, and whereupon he retorted, "No beer, no theology." He was so adamant about his posture in this case that they had to go and get him a pitcher of beer. After drinking the pitcher of beer, he got up and gave the most eloquent theological address that the college had ever heard. They didn't know what to do with that. On another occasion, J. Vernon McGee was walking on campus, he being a graduate of the seminary, wearing a white suit, white hat, and smoking a great big stogie cigar. And once again, here's one of their preeminent, guys, graduate from the college, famous for his Walk Through the Bible series, smoking a cigar. Many people were always praying for J. Vernon McGee to be delivered of the demon of tobacco. After service at one time, J. Vernon McGee was accosted by a Christian, a rather corpulent Christian, who said to him, pointing to his cigar, "Sir, that offends me." Whereupon J. Vernon McGee pointed to his belly and said, "Sir, that offends me." So you see, it's all about pet peeves, isn't it? Releasing men and women to enjoy the liberties of tobacco and alcohol in moderation, with a slight elevation when it comes to alcohol, is an experiment that I have been willing to take at our church, the Legacy Christian Church. If it's abused, I'll exercise my pastoral authority for them to be enjoyed under the auspices of the church and revoke it so that we condemn it. My suggestion is that if you're a Christian man, police one another. Police yourselves, and always ask the question, will there be brethren at such and such a venue who I will cause to struggle or stumble in their weaker faith by exercising my liberty to drink or smoke? If you cannot control the situation, do not love your liberty so much that A, you feel you must employ it to have a good time, or B, become so lenient and liberal in enjoying them as to exclude your weaker brothers. So if you're a pastor or a Christian or a non-Christian, I pray some of these words might have helped you at least in understanding the whole scenario of controversy in the Christian church surrounding these things. None of these things have anything to do with the gospel, and if these things have kept you from embracing Christ and Christianity, perhaps you might consider another approach. This is Pastor Pete Bertolero, the pipe smoking pastor, and thank you for the privilege of fellowshipping with you and talking to you. Until our next video, may God keep you in the palm of his hand. God bless you, man.